34. So I'll read the verse again and the next paragraph. And then I think tomorrow we'll move on to the following verse. Ritertam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidyad atmano mayam yata baso yata tama. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Misconceiving one thing for another is called illusion. For example, accepting a rope as a snake is illusion, but the rope is not false. The rope, as it exists in the front of the illusion person, is not at all false, but the acceptance is illusory. Therefore, the wrong conception of accepting this material manifestation as being divorced from the energy of the Lord is illusion, but it is not false. And this illusory conception is called the reflection of the reality in the darkness of ignorance. Anything that appears as apparently not being, quote unquote, produced out of my energy, unquote, is called Maya. The conception that the living entity is formless, or that the Supreme Lord is formless, is also illusion. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 verse 12, it was said by the Lord in the midst of the battlefield that the warriors standing in front of Arjuna himself, and even the Lord, had all existed before they were existing on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and they would all continue to be individual personalities in the future also, even after the annihilation of the present body, and even after being liberated from the bondage of material existence. In all circumstances, the Lord and the living entities are individual personalities, and the personal features of both the Lord and living beings are never abolished. Only the influence of the illusory energy, the reflection of light in the darkness, can, by the mercy of the Lord, be removed. In the material world, the light of the sun is also not independent, nor is that of the moon. The real source of light is the Brahma Jyoti, which diffuses light from the transcendental body of the Lord. And the same light is reflected in varieties of light. The light of the sun, the light of the moon, the light of fire, or the light of electricity. So the identity of the self as being unconnected with the Supreme Self, the Lord, is also illusion. And the false claim, I am the Supreme, is the last illusory sneer of the same Maya, or the external energy of the Lord. Okay, that was good actually. I hope everyone's following all of this, and it's not too sort of complex or like that. Let me read the verse again. Ritirtam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tadvidyad atmano mayam yata baso yata tama. O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Yes, so of course Prabhupada is basically exploring the same points we were looking at yesterday, and Prabhupada gives the interesting example, and it's a fairly well-known example in like spiritual circles. The example of accepting a rope as a snake. So this is illusion, but as Prabhupada says, the rope is not false. The rope is a reality. But now it's just being taken in the wrong way, in an illusory way, because that rope, it's hanging. This is the idea, the rope's hanging. And as it exists in front of the observer, the rope's not false, but the acceptance of it in a certain way, as opposed to the correct understanding, that is illusory. Yes. To understand the difference, particularly in the application between this is false and this is an illusion. It's a bit subtle, of course. It's a bit subtle. But if we think about it, we should be able to get the basic idea at least, that like here we are with our material bodies, and they're real. Of course they're real. But they're accepted in the wrong ways, in illusory ways. In that, obviously, this is just such a general point in Krishna consciousness, plus we were discussing it yesterday, that the body exists. You cannot say like it's some sort of, it doesn't exist. It exists. But the way we accept it is, false, but let's not use the word false. The way it's accepted is illusory. Yes. So in general, within this world, thinking that all the things and all the people and living entities are independent, like completely independent of the Lord, and therefore able to just do what they like, and that's reality. This is illusion. This is illusion, because we are not these bodies. No one is their body. Krishna is his body, but we are not our bodies. We're something else. In regards to the rope and the snake, it's a pretty clear example, a good example to bear in mind when we think of these types of ideas, that the rope's there, the rope's real, but we think of it in terms that it's not. We think it's a snake. It's not a snake, it's a rope. So that thinking, that accepting it in a certain way is illusory. Srila Ramanujacharya, one of the great acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas, and he's actually from the Sri Sampradaya, the devotional line coming from Lakshmi. We're in the devotional line coming from Lord Brahma. So there is some difference, but it's not like the difference between black and white, or some very graphic difference. Just they have a few different ideas. Anyway, Ramanujacharya, well, because I should mention, this idea of mistaking the rope for a snake, it actually comes from Shankaracharya, the great Mayavadi, impersonal philosopher who, after Buddhism, created like a real revolution of impersonalism after Buddhism. And in fact, because of his philosophy and his preaching, he was very active, moving around and talking and like that. So basically, Buddhism was more or less, not entirely, but to a very large degree, more than well over 90%, maybe 99%, Buddhism was driven out of India. There was a time when Buddhism was the religion of India, and it was just basically accepted pretty much by everyone, or at least the great majority of people. There were devotees, but because Buddhism was so extremely popular, the devotees couldn't really do much. So anyway, Shankaracharya, he came up with this example of thinking that a rope is a snake. And the idea is it's in the context of Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Brahma Satyam, Brahman is truth. And Jagan, this world, is Mithya. Mithya, of course we don't want to get into complicated things, but Mithya basically means illusion, but not exactly false. I mean, that we've been talking about. So Jagan Mithya means this world is illusory, and more or less in the terms we've been talking. But now this rope and the snake idea, this came from Shankaracharya, and his point was the world is actually Brahman. It's not really the world as we see it. It's actually Brahman. It's all one. It's just a spiritual reality. Yes, but we are seeing it in another way, a way which is illusory, that it's this world and it has all these living entities and different features and planets and mountains and whatnot. But actually it's all one. It's not really this multifaceted place that we see it as. And that mistake of ours, that this world is like the rope. In this case, it's Brahman, spiritual reality. But we're accepting it as being the world, and that's like thinking that the rope is a snake. And of course, if you happen to see a snake, you don't have snakes here, do you? From what I heard, yeah. In New Zealand also, we have no snakes. But if you come to South Africa, and so many places actually, you get snakes, and I mean the real thing. Sometimes you got to watch out. Yeah, because they're dangerous, and people are frightened of snakes. I've been in places, in houses, during programs in Durban, where you get snakes. I mean, we get snakes sometimes in the temple. Not much at all, but it has happened. So I remember being in a program's going on, suddenly they're screaming. There was a snake somewhere. around screaming. Yeah, so people react to snakes. They react. And it's kind of a symptom of how we react in general within this world. We react in different ways to different things. Some things we react positively to. Some things we react negatively to. Some things we react very strongly to. Some things we sort of take in our stride, but we react to this world. And in terms of this example of the rope and the snake, you don't need to react to a rope. Don't worry about it. Don't even think about it. Just say, oh, it's a rope, that's all. But when you think it's a snake, oh, Krishna, you react. So actually, the Shankaracharya idea is that we should stop reacting to this world. Just become totally cool. No reaction, no emotions. If there's danger, doesn't matter. If there's something which normally you might have thought was very attractive and exciting, no reaction. And in this way you transcend the wrong idea that this world, is full of all these things, when it isn't. It's just Brahman. It's just all one. And gradually their idea is, if you stop reacting and just remain cool the whole time, sooner or later you'll realize that actually, there's nothing to react to. You'll start realizing it is a spiritual reality. That's their idea. Unfortunately for them, particularly, it's the wrong idea. And I was talking about Ramanujacharya. He makes an interesting point about Shankaracharya's idea, the rope and the snake. He says, anyway, think of this, it's really interesting. If the rope, if the rope is not a snake, and actually you've never seen the snake, then if you've never seen a snake, and you don't know what a snake is, and you've got no idea, then when you see a snake, you won't react. But if you do react, means you know about snakes. So Ramanujacharya's point is that in order for us to react as if there is a world, we must have had experience of a world. Otherwise, how could the tendency to react to the world, how could it be there if there is no world? Anyway, think about that. It's an interesting idea. It's a type of evidence or a type of proof that actually we are, like in our constitutional position, we live in a world. This happens to be the wrong one, the wrong world, but it is a world, and what we are used to, what we have experience of, is a better world, a world which is really nice, and therefore we're prone to make assumptions about this world that it's really nice, and we're going to have nice experiences if we get into trying to enjoy this world. How does that sound? Do you follow that? Do you follow that, baby? You follow that? Yes, I thought so. Good. Thank you. Well done. Okay, rope and snake. Anyway, it's an interesting point, isn't it? It's a very interesting point. That because we've had experience of a world, but actually a much better world, Therefore, we're prone to think this is a real world and that it's going to give us the nice experiences that we had when we were in that really nice world. But the problem with that is that this world is not capable of doing that. Just limited pleasure, no real depth of ecstasy to be had in sense gratification. Yeah. So, devotees, there you go. So here we just need to understand that it's a type of reality, but it's a misleading reality. So what do we do with it? We don't just try to ignore it, as the impersonalists do, like we said. The idea is ignore it, don't react, ignore, just, don't respond at all. But actually the idea is that even though there's not much value in the world, but at least it's there and it belongs to Krishna, so we can engage it in Krishna's service in such ways that we really start to develop our understanding of who we are, what is this world, what is the better world, and what we should be doing about these things. So that's extremely important. And of course, interesting point is that when we engage in devotional service, even if we engage kind of stupid things in Krishna's service, but if we really engage them nicely in Krishna's service, then we get spiritual experience from them. Like we've all heard materialistic music before, and probably we all know that initially it may sound nice, may sound very nice even, but after a while you get tired of it and you want a replacement. Yes, but the same type of phenomenon, spiritual sound vibration, which, let's face it, it's the same alphabets, it's the same syllables, but they're put together in a certain way that they are now names of Krishna, and Krishna is present within them. Then when we chant them, we get a spiritual experience, and it becomes very wonderful. And we become ecstatic by chanting what otherwise, in fact, they are normal material, they're normal syllables formed with normal alphabets in material life. Ha, how many words are there with ha? There's so many words. Ray, Krishna. Even one devotee made an interesting point. Listen to this. Did you know that Barack Obama, the previous president of America, I don't know if he still does, maybe he does, he used to carry like a little, kind of like one of these keychain things, little figure that you attach to a few keys. You know what I mean? Yeah. He used to, or maybe he still does, have a keychain thing of Hanuman. Yeah. Oh yes, it was in the news for a while. Yes. And then one devotee, because chanting different names of the Lord even if the syllables are separated and there are other syllables in between the syllables of the name of the Lord, but still you get benefit. It is counted as part of nama bas. Not high-level chanting, but it's not bad. It's not bad. You can get liberation from chanting in nama bas. You can get, it's even possible to go to Vaikuntha on the basis of simple nama bas. So someone made the point about Barack Obama that his name is Ba Ra Obama. Did you get it? Ra-ma, separated by syllables. Ba Ra Obama. It's a classic example of nama bas, actually, believe it or not. You might think we're pushing things too far. But this is what Bhaktivinoda Thakur says. He lists out the different types of nama bas, like second-class chanting. It's not first class, but it's not like nonsense. It actually has value, limited value, but still it has value. When chanting is done in a mocking spirit, someone's trying to make fun. Oh, look at the Hare Krishnas, ha ha. Or to indicate another thing, like we've given before the example of Rama margarine. Do you have it in Mauritius? Rama margarine, you don't? I tell you what, all over the world, except Mauritius it seems, you get Rama margarine, and it's big time. Oh boy, it's all over America, all over Europe, all over South Africa. It may be the most popular margarine. And you can imagine people who are like fans of it. They go into the supermarket and they ask the staff, "Where's the Rama margarine?" And the staff say, "Well, look, we've got another one here." Some other name, whatever it is. Well, it's on special. Do you want to take it? No, we want Rama. We only want Rama. Yeah. So it's the name of the Lord, but being used to indicate something else. It's a form of nama bas. And similarly, chanting names of the Lord in such situations where the syllables of the names are separated by other syllables is also a form of nama bas. That's interesting, isn't it? So like this, in this world, even though this world, in a certain sense, it's like a whole lot of rubbish, which we're foolish enough to think that it's really nice and have expectations that we will enjoy, we will be happy because it's so nice. But in certain contexts, then there's spiritual benefit, like engaging motor cars, engaging buildings in the service of the Lord. There's definitely spiritual benefit for people, devotees, who do these things. Definitely spiritual benefit. Yeah. So even though it's sort of not a very impressive place when you really get into it on the material level. Okay, so Prabhupada makes another point here I want to mention towards the end of the paragraph we read, that in the material world, the light of the sun is not independent, nor is that of the moon. The real source of light is the Brahma Jyoti. Now this is interesting point. That what is the sunlight? It's just a reflection, some type of reflection of the Brahma Jyoti, actually. Yeah. The Brahma Jyoti, Prabhupada says, diffuses light, like spreads light from the transcendental body of the Lord. And the same light is reflected here in varieties of light. And then Prabhupada says, the light of the sun, the light of the moon, the light of fire, the light of electricity. It's all just a diffusion or reflection of the light of the Brahma Jyoti, which is the effulgence of Krishna's body. Think about that one. And, I can see the sky. Can you see the sky? It's blue, right? The sky is blue. You know why the sky is blue? You know what the sky is? It's the Brahma Jyoti, covered by matter. That's what the sky is. And the Brahma Jyoti, the effulgence of Krishna's body. What color is Krishna's body? Blue. So what color is the effulgence coming from Krishna's body? It's blue. And the sky is the same Brahma Jyoti, covered by matter. So it's not like that blissful Brahma Jyoti, amazing experience, but it's still blue. Yeah. Because it's the light coming from Krishna's body. Haribol. Take that one and think about it. But Prabhupada's talking about it specifically right here. So the identity of the self, me, you, as being unconnected with the Supreme Self, the Lord, is also illusion. And the false claim, I am supreme, is the last sneer of that illusion. In fact, I remember when I was a new devotee, I had been living in the temple in London for not more than a month. There was one gentleman there, kind of older man, but he was a devotee, practicing chanting, and he wasn't living in the temple, but he would visit. And one day he came and told us that he's realized the supersoul, and he's understood that he is the supersoul. That was the last we saw of him, because it's the last snare of Maya. He'd been chanting, associating, doing some service, but now somehow he became bewildered, and we never saw him again. Someone who's come quite close, they're close to Krishna, not quite there, but then not far away. But then suddenly, whoops, detour. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comments, questions, or whatever? Any comments? No question? Okay. Any comments? All right. Hare Krishna. Srila